Good afternoon, my name is Bahar. I'm a PhD student at the University of London. In this talk I'm going to tell you about our study on determining the compositionality of components in a multi-word expression using Wiktionary. Okay, I'll start with the definition of multi-word expression. Multi-word expression is a combination of words with lexical, syntactic, semantic, or statistical idiosyncrasy. And there are lots of examples in every language. Here we have ad hoc, wine and dine, kick the bucket, traffic light, for examples in English. And our main interest is on semantics of multi-word expression. So which is also called compositionality. So we want to know whether the meaning of the multi-word expression is predictable from the components or not. Or in other words, we want to know whether the meaning of the component is reflected in the meaning of the multi-word expression or not. So according to one of our data sets, climate change, climate and change are compositional, meaning that if you know the meaning of climate and the meaning of change, you can to some extent understand the meaning of climate change. But in spelling bee, it has the meaning of spelling, but not bee. Silver screen, silver is non-compositional, screen is compositional, and rat run, which is the road that you use, the narrow road that you use to avoid the traffic. If you know the meaning of rat and the meaning of run, you cannot predict the meaning of rat run. So the task is to determine the compositionality of each component. So for example, here we have a spelling bee. We use Wiktionary. We get some information from Wiktionary and we understand that, okay, a spelling is the compositional component, B is the non-compositional one. Okay, I'm sure you know about Wiktionary. So according to Wiktionary, it's a multilingual free dictionary being written by lots of users around the world, and it's constantly growing. And there are lots of information that we can get from Wiktionary, such as we can get the definitions, the pronunciations, the etymology, translations to other languages, and lots of other information. So our method is, our LESC style method is based on using Wiktionary, and it's language independent, it's applicable to any type of multi-word expression, and of course it assumes that the multi-word expression exists in Wiktionary. To get such a method, we use three different information. One of them is we use the definitions. We also use definition expansion, which I'm going to tell you about more. And also we use the translations given for each multi-word expression. Okay, let's have some examples. If you look for swimming pool in Wiktionary, the definition is an artificially constructed pool of water used for swimming. So when you look at the meaning, we have the components swimming and pool, so it means that swimming pool has the meaning of swimming and pool, easy. And for grandfather clock, the definition is a long case clock, so we understand that in grandfather clock is compositional, grandfather is the non-compositional component. Okay, but what if we have more than one sense or more than one definition? So here we have lookup and we have three different senses or definitions, and one idea could be to only use the first definition and say the first definition is probably the most predominant, is the predominant sense of the multi-word expression. So here, that was the first approach, or we can use all of the definitions and do some voting between them. Or we can use the idiomatic tag that is given by the users of Wiktionary. So if the user thinks that it's idiomatic, they will put idiomatic tag in front of the definition. And in this case, if we have idiomatic tag, we only consider those definitions with idiomatic tag. Okay, now what do we do for definition expansion? For example, here, for split up, the definition is cease to be together, break apart from the group. Okay, leave the stop words. We have 4 words here: cease, together, break, and group. But in this definition, we don't have split, right? But if we look at the definition of break, we have one of the senses is a temporary split, which has the word split, so we can understand that split up. In a split up, a split is compositional. Okay, we also use the translations given in Wiktionary. So for a multi-word expression, we can find different translations in multiple languages. And the work is basically based on our previous paper in StarSam 2013, in which we translate the multi-word expression, and also we translate the components into another language, and then we compare the translation of the components in the translation of multi-word expression. So if we consider make a decision, we translate it to another language. And also we translate make a and decision into that language. We can see the translation of decision in the translation of make a decision, which shows that make a decision has the meaning of decision. But this is not the case for kick the bucket. So when we translate kick the bucket, the translations we cannot find them in the translation of kick the bucket. So back to our example, figure out, we get the translations for figure out, and also we can get the translations for figure and out, and then we use the same string similarity approach to compare the translations of the multi-word expression and its components. Okay, to evaluate our work, we have 2 data sets. We use 2 data sets. The first one has 90 English noun compounds, such as swimming pool and rat race. And the second one has 160 English verb particle constructions, such as stand up and give up. And here's the result for English noun compounds. So the baseline is, for the baseline, we look at the multi-word expression, and if there is an idiomatic tag for that multi-word expression, this means that we consider that multi-word expression as fully non-compositional. And if we cannot find any idiomatic tag for that multi-word expression, we consider it fully compositional. So this is the baseline. And also I have to mention that for the sake of time, I do not have some of the, do not bring some of the results, but I will tell you the main findings. So here we actually use the translation information in a way that if the definition score and the translation score are different, then we consider that multi-word expression as non-compositional, meaning that we will have a higher recall rather than, and then we will have a lower precision. So for the 3 approaches, we had first definition or all definitions or idiomatic tag. The recall is high, and when we add the definition expansion, for all of them we for all of the approaches, we see that when we add definition expansion, the F score is improved. Again, for verb particle constructions, the baseline is the same. So again, if the VPC in Wiktionary has an idiomatic tag, we consider it as fully non-compositional. If it has, if it doesn't have an idiomatic tag, then it's fully compositional. So again, we have high recall for this, and the precision is kind of comparable to the baseline. And when we add the definition expansion, the F score is improved for the first component, which is the verb, and we see that it doesn't improve for the second component, which is the particle, or the ones like up, down, on, things like that. So this is something that actually makes sense, that by definition expansion, the F score drops. Okay, we did some error analysis, and we understood that we have problems. Some of our problems are with the semi-compositional multi-word expression. So for example, for game plan, game plan is not fully compositional or fully non-compositional. According to our annotations, human annotations, game is considered as compositional. Our system says it's non-compositional. And for figure out, we had the same problem. Our system says that figure out is non-compositional, but according to our annotation, it's compositional. Of course, it's something between. And also, we had problem with verb particle constructions, because on average, they have 3 senses, and it's hard to decide which one is better to use or not to use. So in summary, the work is unsupervised, so we didn't use any training set, and we used Wiktionary. So the information that we used in this study were definition, expansion, and translation. The work is language independent, meaning that we do not have any language-specific assumption. And it's applicable to any type of multi-word expression. And the code is available online. And for future work, there are lots of things we can add to it, and one of the interesting ones would be to find the right sense of the multi-word expression, meaning that find the sense that was also given to the annotators. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Questions?
If I've understood correctly, when there's a conflict between the Wiktionary information and the translation expansion, you break the tie by...
So for now, the only thing that I do is to, if there is a tie, I consider that multi-word expression as non-compositional, because it's more important for us to find the non-compositional one.
I see. That does sound very risky. Did you try it the other way around? Because translation is often compositional in a way that the original is not. So,
so can you repeat what you...
So I guess I'm saying that it seems as though relying on the difference between the translation and the things that are on offer from the monolingual Wiktionary is very dangerous, because translation frequently is compositional in an arbitrarily different way from the source language. So I'm wondering, did you try it the other way around? What happens if you... If you let them, in that situation, you let Wiktionary dominate?
Yeah, I'm sure I've done that.
And it doesn't...
The F score is higher for when we consider it as
right.
If F score is important for us.
Any more questions?
Question. Once you have this information, what kind of higher level tasks would you base on this? Did you try?
So you mean the application for this?
Yes.
So it's the applications that need semantics can be machine translation or information retrieval, or the ones that need semantics. So we want to know whether the words are here, they have idiomatic sense or not. There's a question.
Okay. Can you use the mic? Thanks. So I'm curious about how difficult is this task for humans. So how is the human annotator agreement in your test corpus?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if we've reported this.
I don't really need a concrete number, but
so I think it's a hard test because the human agreement is not shouldn't be too high, but I'm not sure, but I think it was around 70%.
70%
so
agreement.
It's not very high, but fine to work on.
And another thing is that you have been studying different sources of evidence for determining this compositionality of the multi-word expressions. My impression is that what you can get from the definitions, translations, expansions, all these are different sources of information, right? So you might want to... I didn't get exactly which are the concrete formulas you use. Maybe are you using CRISP rules, meaning if it appears, it is compositional. If it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you want to combine these different sources of information and then try to explore different thresholds, see how does the precision and recall evolves.
That's a good
because I guess that this is not a black and white task, but it's a matter of degree also. So if you want to use this eventually in an application, probably you need confidence scores there instead of just black and white decision.
Yep. So that's right, and I have to say that our previous papers were on, we would give a score for compositionality. It was not like black and white, but the task here is kind of the information that we are using are in a way that we have no choice other than saying it's compositional or not. We cannot give a score. It's either there is a word in the definition or there is not. We cannot find something in between.
So I was wondering whether you can infer something from the paraphrases, kind of from the definitions that are there in the dictionary, in the sense that, you know, if you look at the language used to do the paraphrase, especially in the case of noun compound, if something is not really much compositional, you should be able to express it with a very simple paraphrase where we have the two target noun sense arguments and maybe just an intervening verb and preposition. And when you have something more compositional, then you probably need to explain it with something a little bit more verbose or with kind of some more complicated kind of expression. So I was wondering, you know, whether some study based on the, you know, the elements that are connecting the two target words in the definition that you have, you know, some kind of linguistic study, or it can be just quantitative, how far away they are. I mean, is there something that you think would be useful in that respect? Or it can be just like, do you use more general verbs or do you use kind of more specific verbs in the paraphrase and so on?
Yeah, so that's a very good idea and it's worth trying. My only concern is that we cannot get this information from Wiktionary. That's right?
I have seen some of it in your examples.
So, such as?
Well, I mean, when you have shown something about the dictionary, yeah, some examples about Wiktionary a little bit later. Yeah,
Like
here.
this one.
See, you have a swimming pool is an artificially constructed pool of water used for swimming.
Yep.
So, I mean, here you have pool of water used for swimming. It's not exactly pool used for swimming, it's pool of water. I mean, the question is, if you look at the lexical material in between, if you look like, is it just a verb or are there other things and so on? I mean, is there something that you can infer from there?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And if you have something less compositional, it's probably going to involve more complex explanation.
That's
if it's,
right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions?
So I was just wondering, how would you know if something is a multi-word expression or not? For example, you said wine and dine is a multi-word expression. Why is table and chair not a
So
multi-word?
for this task, we have the multi-word expressions. It's a different task that we identify the multi-word expressions. For this one, we consider. I mean, we know that these. We have a data set, and we know those ones are actual multi-word expressions. But yeah, there are lots of different ways to find the multi-word expression in a text, and yeah.
Are they all in the Wiktionary, or?
Oh, that's a good question. So I have compared it with WordNet. So the good thing about Wiktionary is that if a multi-word expression becomes popular, it's a very good chance to find it in Wiktionary. And we compared it with WordNet, and so the coverage compared to WordNet was much higher. So yeah.
Thank you.
Stop here. Okay. So this, I'm going to allow with the last question, but this is the last paper in this session, so the next slot is empty. So if someone wants to switch to another session, please go on the paper run. Okay? But since we have some minutes, we can go for the next question.
So here in your test data, the Wiktionary has a full coverage. In all the expressions that are in your data, you have a Wiktionary.
So for the first data set, it's we have full coverage. For the second one, we have 96% coverage. The first one was noun compounds. The second one was verb particle constructions. And since, again, the title of the paper is Detecting Non-compositional multi-word expression, it's important for us to make sure that we find the non-compositional ones. We consider them as non-compositional.
Okay. Thanks, Spirit.